the idea that there's only 50 years left, the idea that there may only be 50 years left, this is perfectly maladaptive. Bad ideas don't get much worse than this. This is perfectly hostile to creating a sustainable future for ourselves, environmentally, even economically. Some of you probably remember the story about James Watt, Reagan's first Secretary of the Interior, who said in testimony before Congress, "When the last tree is felled, Christ will return." He's the Secretary of the Interior. Now, most secularists didn't know what to make of this comment, but the devout certainly did. Reagan is reported to have brought Jerry Falwell into his National Security Council briefings. He had Hal Lindsey, a religious lunatic of the highest order, lecture to the Pentagon about the implications of Bible prophecy for nuclear war with the Soviet Union. So what is the problem with taking things on faith? Well, there are two, and the first should be very obvious. If faith is what you have to go on, if faith is the link between your beliefs and the world at large, your beliefs are very likely to be wrong. Beliefs can be right or wrong. If you believe you can fly, that belief is only true if indeed you can fly. Somebody who thinks he can fly and is wrong about it will eventually discover there's a problem with his view of the world. Faith does not offer a strong link between our beliefs and actual states of the world. And this is not an accident, because it is what we rely on when no such links exist. It is what we rely on when the reasons are not there, when the sensory evidence is not there. But there's another problem with faith, and it occurs between people and between societies. You see, we have a choice. We have two options as human beings. We have a choice between conversation and war. That's it. Conversation and violence. And faith is a conversation stopper. The only thing that guarantees an open-ended collaboration among human beings, the only thing that guarantees that this project is truly open-ended, is a willingness to have our beliefs and behaviors modified by the power of conversation. It should be clear. What else could do it? What else could guarantee that our future together of collaboration is actually open-ended? We have a consensual space where we continually revise our description of the world. New data comes in, new arguments come in. Now, failing that, when the stakes are high, we just start clubbing each other over the heads. If there's nothing that a devout Muslim and a devout Christian can say to one another that will put their beliefs about the world in check, that will make them mutually susceptible to the power of conversation, then when the stakes are high, there's nothing to appeal to but force. So now, what is it that most people take on faith? There really is this central claim that certain books are unique. Generally, the claim is certain books were written or dictated by God. Among moderates, it may be certain books may have been dictated by God. More moderate still, certain books were written by the wisest people who ever lived, and we can't improve on them. Whatever the claim, it leads certain books to be uniquely venerated. Now the question is, do the contents of these books warrant this? No. Consider the Bible as a source of moral instruction. The Bible is undoubtedly a great work of literature, but consider it as a moral document. Consider books like Leviticus and Deuteronomy and Exodus and 2 Samuel. As moral documents, these are diabolical books. These texts tell us to kill people for all manner of infraction. To kill your children for talking back to you. You kill people who work on the Sabbath. You kill people who have homosexual sex, men at any rate. You kill people for adultery. You kill people for wizardry. The list is long and preposterous. Now, most Christians and Jews imagine that somehow these admonishments were appropriate to the time, that the Canaanites were so ill-behaved that a prescription like kill your children if they talk back to you was an improvement over the status quo. This is ludicrous. This is historically ludicrous. At the exact same moment in history, people like Mahavira, the founder of Jainism, an Indian religion, and Buddha, incidentally, they were preaching highly moral doctrines, too moral. Mahavira, Jainism is a doctrine of utter nonviolence. His contemporary in the Old Testament, Elijah, was running around killing the prophets of Baal for their wayward beliefs. These are different moral visions. It was possible back then to realize you shouldn't kill your children for talking back to you. Now here I've violated another taboo, or that second taboo I mentioned earlier. It is taboo to notice that our religions are actually different. Our religions are not all equally wise. They're not teaching exactly the same thing on every point, and where they do teach the same thing, they don't teach it equally well. Now, let's linger on this supposed link between Scripture and morality, because it's often claimed that unless we think one of our books was actually written by the creator of the universe, we will just be at sea morally. We will be practicing cannibalism and having sex with our children. There is no evidence for this. Let's consider a moral question that is solved, at least in the civilized world. Consider slavery. We can all agree that slavery was an abomination. Thomas Jefferson, as good as that man was, he would have been a better person if he had freed his slaves. Absolutely.